So one of the ways we can store multiple values is using what's called a list. So we can define a list in the following way. We can say values equals, and then we need some square brackets. Inside of those, we can put our values. So for example, 15, 10, 5, 3. Doesn't really matter what our values are for now, but let's print out the value of values for now. You can see down here that we just get this collection back like what we entered up here. But what if we wanted to only get one specific value? What if we wanted this 10? Well, if we wanted to get one specific value, we would need to put in an index to print statement. We want to access values, but only one specific value. And so we use another pair of square brackets here, and we put a number inside of it. So if I wanted to get the 10, I would need the number 1. And that is because lists and any kind of collection in most programming languages start with index 0. So the 15 would be a 0, 10 would be 1, 2 would be 5. Hang on, I think I got my order mixed up then. Index 0 is 15, index 1 is 10, index 2 is 5, and index 3 is, in this case, 3. So if we were to print out values 1, you can see here we get the 10. Something that's really useful about lists is we can actually add to them halfway through the program. So we've created our list here. We're using our list here. We're just printing out the value. We can then come down here and say values.append, and then let's say 100. Why not? And now if we use the values variable again, we want to print values. You'll see that our first output is going to be the same. It's going to be our 15, 10, 5, 3 that we've got up here. This print statement. Then we are adding the value 100 to the list, and then when we print it out again, we can, well, we've added to it. We can also remove a value from the list. So if we wanted to get rid of that 5, we could say values.remove and 5. That will take this one out, and we'll be just left with 15, 10, 3. If we, I'm doing a strange typo. If we print out values here now, we can see get the 15, 10, and the 3. But what if we wanted to remove the second index or the first index? Currently we're removing by value instead of by index. If we wanted to remove by index, we can use a separate command called pop. And now 5 will be out of range, so let's try 1 and remove the 10. We should be left with 15, 5, and 3. So what would actually happen if we tried to access a value from an index that isn't in our 0, 1, 2, 3 up here? Let's try it out. If we go to index 4, Python doesn't complain to us yet, but if we try to run the program, we get the following error. We get index error, list index out of range. But something strange happens if we try to do something negative. Try to do -1, then we run it. We get the 3. Now 3 is at the back of the list. So if we try -2, see that we get 5. So I've made the list a bit bigger, I've added a few values, but what if we wanted to take a selection from our list? What if we wanted to grab the values 5, 3, 52, 23, and 41, kind of take that sublist out of our big list? Well, we can do that with square brackets as well. First of all, we need to find the starting index. We need to find our 5. We know that that is at index 2 over here. But then we need to find our 41. Now our 41 is at index 2, 3, 4, 5. It's at index 6. So if we use a colon here and add the 6 in here, we can say we want a slice between these two values. But if we run the program, we'll see that it falls a little bit short. We get 5, 3, 52, 23, but we don't get the 41. That's because our start point is fine. We start from here. But then the end point is actually more of an end before. So we start at the 5, then we go to 3, 52, 23, and we've gotten to 41. We've got to index 6, so we just pick what we've got. We don't add this value in yet. So if we want to include the 41, we just need to make sure to set the end point to 1 after it. Now if we run the program, we can see we've got the 41 as well. What if now we wanted to start from 5, wanted to end at 41, like we've got so far, but we wanted to skip out the 3 and the 23. We wanted to start at 5, jump over a value to 52, jump over another value to 41. We can also do this as well. So if we add another colon here after the 7 and add a 2 and run this, we can see that we get the 5, the 52 and the 41. Because what this is called a step. So the default value here, if we didn't have it at all, is the same as putting a 1 here. That means we start at 5 and then we increment the index by 1. We go to 3, 52, 23, 41, and then we need to stop. If we replace this with a 2, we're now incrementing the index by 2, moving along. But then that begs the question of, what if we were to change this index back to 6? Close the terminal for now. Start at the 5 value. We skip to 52. And we go to 41, but we're not allowed a 41. So all this means is that once we reach this value, we don't include it. We just go from what we had before. We have 5 and 52. Yeah. Yes. A few more quick notes. If we were to say to colon without a second value after it, that means we go from index 2 to the end of the list, like that. Alternatively, if we were to do colon and then 5, that means we go from the start of the list to index 5. So that's 3, 4, 5, means that we take all of these values here. And one final more. We can put 2 colons there so that we go into the step column. And if we do a -1, we get the list backwards. So we start with 81 and 52, 41, etc. to 15. So that's all for this video. In the next video, we'll be talking about for loop.